much for joining us for this amazing session around content and the new generation, Gen Z, and everything else. So, thank you, Ty, and all the other guys. It was amazing. And now I'm very happy to introduce our next speaker, our keynote speaker of the day, Sandra Lopez, CMO of Microsoft. Sandra, thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure meeting you, not in person, unfortunately, but virtually. So I would like to introduce yourself before we jump into the questions.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Sandra Lopez. I'm responsible for leading the business marketing efforts for the Microsoft Advertising business unit, and it still has its way into the world of sports, which we will talk about that. I have really been born and raised in the tech industry in Silicon Valley. So I had the fortunate opportunities to see the evolution of technology, but more importantly, really seeing how technology is accelerating at a fast pace and the impact it has within the overall sports industry. So glad to be here. Glad to have a conversation with you, Fernanda, around sports and tech and all the goodness of how it's driving growth.
Awesome. Me too. Thank you so much. And now, since you mentioned how you've been so involved with technology and seen so closely, what is one technology that you are passionate about? Like, what's something that you truly believe and hope to see more and more out there?
I mean, I don't think there's any one technology that I'm very passionate about. If we take a step back and look at what transpired with COVID, I do believe one of the unsung heroes has been technology. It has enabled some of the sports leagues to continue, like the NBA bubble. It has really taught us that even if you're not anchored in technology, meaning your company is not technology based, every industry and every vertical should be technology based, including sports. And so if you think about it from that point, you have to kind of take a macro step back and say, well, what are all the touch points that is driving sports? And what should we consider? So if you think about from the fundamentals of just fan engagement, what I love, and I know in the previous sessions I was hearing, 3D spatial computing, the hot topic metaverse, whatever you want to call it, still to be determined. So let it all play out organically. But with 3D spatial computing, I like to highlight this one story when I was in my previous company that brought goosebumps to me. And when we think about people with disabilities, there are individuals that were fans that love to go watch and see the game in person because the energy that transpires. And if you're diagnosed with MS or ALS, that may no longer be a possibility. And what we were able to do is provide them with an overall VR headset. And what they said to us in a beautiful letter was, I never thought I would be able to go experience sports in a stadium again because of my disability. But now I was able to not only experience it, but I was able to experience it from viewpoints that even if I was in the first row, that I would never be able to do. So if you think about technology such as 3D spatial computing and its ability to democratize access, right? So the person with disability. My ex-husband and I, we were laughing because we were talking about how expensive. I live in San Francisco. It's a very expensive city. So you can only imagine going to see basketball, baseball, or American football. It's very expensive. And so it's more for the haves. And so what do you do to provide access to everybody? And whether you're in San Francisco or if you're in China, and let's say your favorite team is the Warriors, providing access to virtual seating is amazing. So those are a couple examples from an overall fan engagement. And then you think about the data that with the smart cameras and everything that you're being able to collect. And how can we use that information so that we reduce injuries of our athletes? Without the athletes, we don't have sports. And being able to anticipate injuries. Imagine how that in itself is a game changer. And then looking at, looking at streaming. I was laughing. I was this weekend. I was at a remote area. I only had Wi-Fi, and I'm a big F1 fan. So I was able to, stream anywhere and everywhere F1 TV. So I wasn't beholden to a cable channel. All I needed was Wi-Fi, and literally in the middle of a ranch with cows, I'm able to watch F1 and stream and engage. So if you think about it, it's not any one technology and you have betting and all the capabilities in terms of automation and forecasting. It's, I would tell, for those that are in the sports industry to think about every single touch point of your business. And there's a
Hmm.
technology element. And how do you leverage that so that you grow your business? So that you engage your fans in a meaningful way, so that you protect your athletes, so that you do what's right for society versus being on the wrong side of history.
Awesome. Yeah, and maybe just a overall opinion. All of that you just said, we learned how essential it was for the past year, that we, with all the COVID and pandemic and everything that we went through, and how fan engagement became such a essential part on how to engage your fans remotely, that we just heard the guys from Cynic and FanY talking about. From your point of view, how do you see technology being essential for your organization after this period with COVID? How did you see playing an essential part moving forward? Can you extend a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, McKinsey came out with a report highlighting that COVID accelerated digital transformation by a decade. So let's
Hmm.
internalize that. We fast forwarded 10 years. Fans are consumers. Like, I'm going to speak in most, countries, the notion of on food delivery, grocery delivery,
Hmm.
that accelerated. Wasn't like that in like pre-COVID. If you think about also the spirit of, fuel efficiency and saving the world and what's happening to autonomous driving,
Hmm.
I think about, imagine autonomous driving. Imagine it's not a car, it's a moving living room. Think about how tailgate parties are going to change. So the parties are no longer in the venue, they're inside, outside, and everywhere. And so my take is, and this is the hard part, this is what's really hard, is that like many of you, every single day we have our own fire drills that we're putting out. I call it the whack-a-mole game. Like, you're trying to manage
Yes.
the business day to day, but you're also trying to look ahead and trying to
Hmm.
anticipate what it looks like. And so I always tell people, like, you need to have a team that's
Hmm.
seeking to understand technology, culture, society, look at like what a decade's going to look like. So just think about autonomous, just pure cars.
Hmm.
Nobody's talking about how a car is going to be a moving living room, but it's going to be. If you look at the car of the future, what is that going to do to tailgating? What is that going to do potentially to impact the overall fan? What is that strategy? Then you think about NFTs, right? So now everybody's starting to come up with the NFTs. We could have predicted that, could have been predicted 3 years ago. And
Hmm.
so what I tell everybody is, like, technology is like, it's a mandate, and understanding all of it. And oftentimes I'm a very big believer, my current company, Microsoft, equally, is that, we're here to provide the best technology, but we partner with industry experts, like in the sports industry, to provide insights of what is required, so that together, right, we can
Hmm.
deliver meaningful solutions. And so if you're on the sports side, whether you're a league or an agency, who is that technology partner that you're working with? It can be a couple, it doesn't have to be one. Um, and how do you look at technology strategically?
Hmm.
Oftentimes in the sports industry, I see, well, X company, they're spending money in sports. They could be brand sponsors, and then you're focusing on the revenue, which is being a little bit short-sighted, because you should look at technology strategically to drive differentiation, to help you drive fan growth. And so I would say that the big takeaway is, and I love the Coliseum because you guys are driving these conversations, is like, all the technology that's out there, there's so many different technologies. Where are you going to place your bet? Where is the industry going to go in the
Hmm.
next 10 years? And I know I heard one of the panelists is that, and it's always human, like human first. Don't do technology for technology's sake. Think about
Hmm.
what you're really trying to achieve. Like, what is the key objective? And will that technology move you forward?
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. And we're all about that over here, like you said, in Coliseum. And going back a little bit to the human side of it, it goes without saying that you are a leader in breaking through barriers. We could name all the awards that you've earned this year. what information and experience do you think are more important? And what would you like to share with tomorrow's leaders, like to the girls that are starting in sports tech or in technology in general? Any advice that you would give them moving forward?
I just think that when I first started my entry into sports as part of my previous company, I recall going to a conference. And
Mm-hmm.
in that conference, I saw, and this was the US, so let's just caveat that it was in the United States. It was a sea of white males in a blue suit, kind of all in uniform. And what I looked at that is like you're missing an opportunity because I'm the one that throws the NFL parties on Sundays. I'm the one that's really engaged about watching American football. The woman, oftentimes, there's enough research in terms of the sports industry, is deciding whether or not they want to support their kids in sports.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are pipeline to the future athletes of professional sports. My daughter gets very frustrated when she turns on the TV and doesn't see herself on the TV, whether it's a sports journalist and or, just women's basketball. And for me is just like in the business side, we're having conversations in the corporate industries that,
Mm-hmm.
we need to have representation. Sports is no different. I always say, like, what is the opportunity cost? How much money are you leaving on the table? And so, I would say don't hire a woman for a token. Like, make reaching your society and mirroring your society into how you're telling your stories, what you're deciding to show. There's, in the US, we're all very engaged in women's soccer. We do that very well. There are so many opportunities. So I didn't realize when I was born that, sports was going to be a man's only,
Yeah.
industry. It doesn't have to be that way. And so that's why I am very vocal. There are many male allies, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm very fortunate. So this is not a male bashing. There's so many men that are amazing that contribute. Oren being, one of many examples to help make
Amir, that just I
Amir.
just had the opportunity to talk from Zoom. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
there's so many, and I just think it's like, yes, we're all aware, but now let's make awareness and drive action.
Yes, 100%. That's what I just spoke to women in sports tech, Marilu, Melanie, and Alice. So
Yeah.
definitely, and 100% agreed. There's no way to move the industry forward without our female power. So thank you for the words. It's always amazing hearing that. So yeah, so as we are reaching the end of our session, any last words? Anything you'd like to share with our global audience of sports tech fans, stakeholders, and enthusiasts?
No, I just say, like, listen, it's overwhelming. Don't expect to know everything. And oftentimes emerging technology, it's all new and emerging with all of us with a new playbook, new business models, monetization, different ways to engage. And so let's learn together. I always believe that collaboration drives greater success. And so at Microsoft, we do have a sports division. In the technology industry, many technology companies have sports divisions. Like, we're all here to help, so that the industry continues to survive and grow. I think the sports industry is like one of the things that unifies us.
Mhm.
We break down so many different barriers, and it also helps us keep our kids out of trouble. So I want to see sports to continue growing and thriving around the world. Technology is a core part of it, and the tech industry is here to partner with the sports industry to make that happen.
Amazing. Amazing way to end this so insightful conversation. So thank you so much, Sandra. Hopefully we'll see each other very soon in person.
Yes.
And thank you so much for everyone watching. We have a very exciting session with NASCAR and sports media advisor with Dan and Brian. So thank you so much, and stick in. We still have an hour and a half of content to get through. Bye, guys.
Bye.